This is something Tom and I have talked about for a few years, trying to get you guys together. Appreciate you making time out of your day to come join us. I didn't realize, I knew this team was special until Mr. Tom shared a letter with us that we're going to distribute here in a moment. But, the more I thought about this football team, the more I thought about how you all reflect what we call the ICC family here. One of my favorite parts of my job is seeing students come together, strangers come together, and being friends for life. And this reflects that right here. But not only that, you guys have that special bond of setting the platform for the success our football team has had since you guys have been here. And that's the unfortunate part. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot of people that put the groundwork in for the future to be better. And that's you guys. And that's one thing that makes you guys special and will always be special to ICC. So I appreciate you guys making time to come join us today. I'm going to introduce a few people. This is our current head coach, Travis Macon. Coach Macon's in his first season, and he's doing what you guys are doing. He's setting that foundation for great years ahead, and we're looking forward to next season. Had a good season this year, considering, but looking forward to that. Coach, any quick words or anything?
One thing Coach was sharing with me that I'd say they take pride in listening to. He said y'all was an all-freshman team. Well, this past team, we laid down a foundation this past season, so it's some good things to hear that how y'all overcame adversity. So to hear y'all's story, I really enjoyed the stories he was telling me about beating East Mississippi, beating Northeast. So.
And then and they're okay with you beating Northeast as long as it's 73 or below.
Well, I stopped at 72. I just want to win.
How many touchdowns we have called back against Northeast? People had 3 or 4 called back.
There's the football from there.
24-22. And we did have several touchdowns called back.
We did have
football. They got it home.
Sophomore.
I'm just very seeing Willis go down the sideline just screaming.
Was that it?
That's it.
I think
You didn't count Hall.
Well, he was a freshman though. He was with y'all.
He just hung out.
He just hung out
that first year. He's second semester.
Second
Guys, we also got our current athletic director, Chad Case. Chad's been a fixture here at ICC for a while. I'll say that because he's been here a few years longer than I have. But Chad is, second year AD?
Yes.
So still learning, but still helping us move forward, especially with a lot of the great things that you guys will see in the near future coming here. Chad, any short words you want to give real quick?
Just an honor to be here. I know many of you, and so good to see y'all. I looked down a while ago and saw Mr. Childs and Mr. Weigel and didn't hardly recognize them. There.
The weight changed a little bit.
But no, I really appreciate the invite, Adam, and it's a pleasure. I look forward to meeting all of you.
Absolutely. And real quick, I want to introduce, y'all know Michael Upton and Jim Ingram, part of our Foundation Alumni Association. Guys, open the floor for you for a second as well.
No, we're glad to be here. Of course, we came to a reunion 2 years ago, Tom. Had it here, had a great time. I'm glad y'all stay together and still remain friends and get to meet up with each other. And it's an honor to be here today. Thank y'all for inviting us.
That's all the greetings we're going to do. We're going to turn this over to you guys. But before we do that, we're going to go old school. We're going to go back and let Coach give you the game plan on what we're going to do this afternoon. And I know you've got weights because you've got some recruiters on the road, and I know you've got a meeting. So whenever you guys need to break free, they're going to sneak out. Don't think they're leaving just because, but they got other things they need to do there. But Coach, you give them the game plan on what we're going to do.
All right, we're trying to come up with a game plan now. I want to first of all say thank you to Adam for putting this on. Adam mentioned to me over the last couple of years that he'd like to have y'all gather together, and was very happy to hear that. And I think it's a great honor for you as a team to be invited here for the purposes we're here for today. And I thank you very much, Adam, for arranging this. And I also appreciate great work that Jim and Michael did 2 years ago when we had our 53 reunion. That was a really great reunion. I think we all enjoyed that, reminiscing about days gone by. good times and some that weren't quite so good, but in the end, when you came out winners from the season, it was a really good time. I want to thank also Coach Mason, Coach Case. I call him Coach because he's athletic director and they do a great job here. I was at a meeting out at Johnny Crane's Bottom back in the spring. And I remember saying at that time to Coach Mason that looking forward to them bringing another state championship back here on campus. And I think what he did this year, through the help of the athletic director here, really laid a good foundation for a state championship to come this way. I'm said 50 years ago how proud I am of all of y'all. And I meant that then, and I mean it today. I'm just as proud of you today as I was 52 years ago. Because I've kept up with you, I've watched you, I've seen how you've lived your life. I remember the fine people you were then and the fine people you are today. And one of the things I remember most about that 71 season was the grit and determination that all of you showed. And that carried through your life. You didn't let things get you down. When you had adversity, you got back up, and you've all been winners in your respective fields of life. It's been so easy 52 years ago to quit. If you read this little history I'm going to give each of you a copy of, based on the history of ICC football that Adam put together, it's a great job Adam did. You'll see that to really understand the 71 season, you have to understand what went on before. And for 22 football seasons before y'all came in, 38 freshmen, 4 sophomores. Before y'all came in, Etowanda had only beaten Northeast one time. The record against Northeast was 1-9-1. One time they beat Northeast. Y'all beat them 74-22. East Mississippi is another good example. East Mississippi has always been, y'all have heard of Bull Sullivan. He was, if you think Dudley Miller was tough, Sullivan was pretty tough. If you had both of them playing Bull in the ring, I wouldn't even want to be close enough to be watching something like that.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, Bill Sutton on Sports
That's
Illustrated.
good.
Coach in the country.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Star Club or Rutland Sports
Well, that team, they come up here to play, they wouldn't have face masks, they'd have crossbone skulls painted on their helmet, and of course they tried to scare you to death. Well, y'all beat them 45-6. In the history of the school, they'd only been beat by Etowanda. They played, I think it's all in here, 23 or 24 times. Etowanda was 1-4. If you look at the immediate history before y'all came in, they hadn't beaten East Mississippi in 4 years in a row. And Etowanda had been beaten by an average of 28 points a game before y'all played. And they came in here at homecoming all the way from 45-6. When we went up to Northeast, we got shellacked Coach Mason the week before from Northwest. Larry Dan got knocked out. They were trying to learn a new offense that I had feebly tried to put together. And it took a while for us to gel. And Larry was a guinea pig on a lot of my brainchild offense. He got hit a lot. And he, next week though, after he got laid in the hospital, he had broken ribs to show you what grit and determination. Coach Miller fixed up a girdle and put on a woman's girdle. And he went in that game, and we won that game, or they won that game, 74-22. He broke 7 junior college records. Had over 500 yards offense that he accounted for in that ball game. John David was our freshman quarterback. Larry was a sophomore. John David, the last player, almost the last player of the game, scored 67-22. We were ahead. And And I sent the play in to fall on your knee to John Davis. We already mentioned there he had scored enough touchdowns, so we let him come in.
That was because we threatened him with bodily harm if he took that knee.
John Davis went in. I sent the play. I don't know whether I sent it in with Jackie or Thomas or
John Willis.
John Willis.
John Willis.
John Willis.
Well, whoever I sent it in by, I said, tell John Davis take a knee. About a minute left to go in the game. So, show you how much respect they had for me. I was standing there on the sideline and I look up, John Davis dropping back. John Willis, who's like a deer, is flying down the sideline. He throws a pass to Willis that looked like Johnny Unitas throwing the ball. They score the touchdown, and we go up 74-22. And now in retrospect, I'm real glad that happened. To set the record, that's the record not only for the college, but for no high school and all of Coach Jones. And I have great admiration for Coach Ben Jones. In all of his best years, they never scored 74 points. So that's still the record that you guys set 52 years later. And that's what he was talking about. You hold it 73 now, we're going to be with you all the way. But after the game, I remember real well, Coach Miller, of course, he coached the defense, basically, he did Doc Wall. And he didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. Wasn't the play I called. But Coach Ward, who was the head coach, been here a long time, head coach at Northeast, he comes flying across the cheaper Doug Miller out for calling a play running up the score. But he didn't know what was going on, because I didn't know.
That was the game. Go ahead.
I was going to say in the East Mississippi game, F.G. White was there. We sent him in. I wanted to win that game so bad. Everybody around town had said, you can't beat East Mississippi. Said they've been beating Etowah just real bad. And everybody would say they've never beaten. Etowah's never beaten them. Historically, I found out that wasn't true. Coach Miller had beat them twice before. But we thought that to be the case at the time. And I remember walking up to the field house, my skin just crawling because I wanted to win that game so bad. And I was so tense about it, I think I made the team tense. In first play, design play, we were going to do 2 screen passes because their defensive line outweighed us about 40 pounds per man. Chuck, they throw one to him.
Don't have to talk about it.
He dropped it. He dropped it. I would have dropped it too, you know. He was with all the time. Then he comes in and kicks a 52-yard field goal, record-setting field goal. And it just made the whole team get relaxed, and we were going to win 45-6 in that game. Now, that's a little history that you're going to see some of here. But what Adam said, and I appreciate so much, is I would like to think that what you guys did helped to set a foundation. Our record was only 5-4-1. We were 1-3-1 the first 5 games, 4-1 the last game. First 5 games, we only averaged 16 points a game scored. Last 5, we averaged 43 points. Last 5, we averaged 43 points a game. First 5, the defense gave up 35 points a game. Last 5, they only gave up 16 a game. The point of that is the improvement that a freshman team would make over a period of time. And I'm just so proud of y'all. I'm proud of you 52 years ago. I'm proud of you now. Now, the game plan that Adam was going to finally get around it. Now, somebody that's been around me for 52 years knows that sometimes I get wound up talking about this team because I respect you and admire you so very, very much for what you accomplished and the adversities that you went through to accomplish it. What he wanted to do today was to have y'all sit around in an informal fashion and start talking about what it was like to play football in Etowah in 1971. what it was like when you came on campus. Some of you may not have known when you came on campus that for 20 out of 22 seasons, the most games that a woman had ever won in a season was 4. And they had a lot of 2 wins, 3 wins, it's all in here. Some no-win seasons. But y'all made an impact. And I want to think that what y'all did helped to set a foundation for teams that came along later. We didn't have a single person, actually we were 1-3-1, it'd been so easy to quit. In 1970, the team quit. After the 4th ball game, they quit. Had 7 boys left. I was coaching defense in 1970. We got back to Jones. Coach Miller's wife called me, he said, get up and go and quit. Everybody's leaving. About 4 o'clock in the morning when we got back. 7 boys stayed. We got the others out of the door and finished the season. How it happened, I don't know, but Larry and that bunch beat home out here on this field. And that's right. And had some close ball games. But the 71 team is special to me. Any athletic teams I've ever had on any occasion in my life. Y'all are super special because of what you did. Nobody quit. Everybody buckled up, made their mind up, and after they got the head beat out of the Northwest, the very next week, you put that whipping on Northeast. And there wasn't any stopping you after that. Then the next week you beat Hines and you beat Holmes, and it was a joint offense, defense second. Here y'all shut Holmes out 35-0. You held East Mississippi to 6 points, which was unheard of back at that time. The Colin game, final game, y'all were ahead 14-0 in 2 minutes. You got the kickoff and lead and scored. Kicked off, they fumbled and lead and scored 14-0. Then a little linebacker from Colin that I tried to tell y'all about, number 66, named Leonard Frazier. He introduced himself to Larry Gann, and he introduced himself to Keebo Davis, and both of them came over and watched the game with me. But they weren't and as a result of that, we lost the game. Now, I believe y'all could whip them back if Larry had been able and Keebo had. I watched that film the week before on Sunday. And I remember saying to him, I remember that number, you better watch that number 66. And I remember Thomas Camp and Forrest Suggs with the guards trying to block him. And I remember them talking about it. They came back in the huddle and Larry was there and he said, one of y'all going to have to keep that guy off of me. And they said, we can't do nothing about that.
Child, I'd like to say, I was talking to him a while ago there. I remember that linebacker well too.
Oh, yeah, I know. You came in for that.
Larry got hurt, so they put me in.
Yeah.
And that's something going to come through there. That clap for long. And I played the rest of the game.
You did a great job of staying in the game. And you threw a touchdown pass. I remember that.
So I remember him well.
Coach, there was one thing too, I could not cover Luke a lot of it. I got Ace, I thought, we was pretty good at defensive back, we've done a pretty good job. I couldn't cover him, so I go over and I tell Ace, I said, you take him, I'll take the other. Well, we decided that wasn't gonna work either, neither one of us could cover it. And we just finally told Doc to let.
Had y'all been healthy, all night. Now, John Davis, he was very nice in what he said, what he did. He did a great job for us as a freshman backup to our sophomore quarterback. But when our sophomore quarterback gets knocked out, we don't have a third quarterback. And so he played injured and hurt a lot of times. And that made a difference in what he's been able to do. FG, by the way, led the team in interceptions. They had 5. I looked at your records. 6 is the record going back to 10 years ago. You're in second place on that. So that's a long game plan. Let's get started.
That's home. That's just like the Ravens. That's just like Pahokee, Florida. That's my second home. I got my degree from there, my first degree, college degree. It's part of my heart, it's part of my soul, it's part of my spirit. And you know, it's everything. Itawamba Community College, baby, it's everything. It shaped me up to being a great man because it was part of the journey of me becoming the young man I am today. And it's home, man. That's it. Like, I can go there and lay my head down without no problems. Itawamba Community College, the best start here.
Guys, you're not going to believe the luck I've had lately. Just the other day, I had a flat tire, thought I was in big trouble. Before I know it, somebody pulled it over, fixed the tire.
Oh, that's not luck, Kirk. It's because
That's not the only thing. How about when I'm in a studio, drop the cell phone, bang, shatters completely. Guy hands me a brand new cell phone.
Yeah, Kirk, that's because you have Renaissance Rewards Extra.
Yeah, roadside assistance, cell phone protection, coupon straight to your phone.
And another discount with Renaissance Rewards Extra, Mr. Herbstreit.
Life's just easier when you have Renaissance Rewards Extra.
Here, you can be your best. The best train here. Learn here. Succeed here. Perform here. Win here. Thrive here. Itawamba Community College. The best start here.
You know, when y'all recruited the freshmen to come in, you know, Steve Franks and I were obviously best friends. Yeah. So we were getting recruited to come over here. And we had heard all of that stuff that y'all had gone through prior to us getting over here. Of course, we had hair down there, acts like this, you know, and we heard about getting mohawks and all that stuff. But most things, we heard about what y'all had been through prior. And we said, we got together, and I don't know if we want to go over there or not, Steve.
You're right on that. We're hearing the same thing.
Yeah. I said, well, I don't know either. I said, you know, I don't know if we can, I don't know if we can make the grid there. He said, well, there's one thing about it. If we can room together and we gotta get over there and have the same philosophy afterwards, we can leave together. I said, yeah. But when we got here, it was, of course, as you guys, and it all finally jailed up. A lot of stuff I didn't understand, like Doc Walls. What was that defensive call? Red, yeah. And he had the red base sweep. I don't remember that. But Journey comes to the huddle one night. I don't remember who it was. He said, this ain't working. He said, this ain't working. He said, this Booker 2 ain't working. He said, we got to do something else. And we all said, yeah. I said, well, what do we need to do?
Oh, Coach Miller looked over at Coach Doc Wild. He said, Doc, I don't believe this GD Booger 2 is working. The score said 60 points. We changed around. It's going to working now. He never knew we changed.
He never knew we changed that. New uniform with the stars and stuff on it. I don't remember it.
Yeah, we're back to 5-2.
Y'all remember that uniform we had?
I remember thinking, I'm sure glad I'm not up there wearing that. That's what I remember about it.
Yeah. It seemed like red pants and maybe it
must be
never had any stunt.
Yeah. It was the next year.
It was, okay, so we didn't, in that year, we
No, we didn't wear that.
We were just proud it didn't work.
Hey, I didn't, you know, in Oklahoma now, back then, we had good stuff. Nice locker room, hanging lockers, you know, the latest of everything. I get there to one of my freshman year. I walked down there, walked downstairs, got a folding chair, 4 nails, hanging stuff on. There was a pile of shoulder pads over here, a pile of helmets over here, and they said, "Gan, pick you one out. Just pick me out a helmet." I picked me out a helmet. My kids have all my stuff, but there's a picture of me throwing a pass. I've got on an old gold game jersey that I had cut the sleeves off, and I cut through the elbow patch on it to do that. Number 40, playing quarterback, and had a helmet with one of the plastic face mask and the old horseshoe thing on it. Well, I went ahead, I didn't say nothing, I finally found some shoulder pads, I'm out there. And of course, we go through the 8-hour film session after the first game, the 4-hour scrimmage that next Monday, and folks starting to quit. The 2 starting running backs were playing the 2-2 techniques on the scout team defensive line that next Monday.
That was your first year.
Yeah, that was our freshman year. So anyway, we'd gone through all that stuff, and so we it just kind of unraveled from that point on. But we had some that first night quit when they got there. And I remember there was a bunch of quarterbacks show up, and I'm like, dead gum. And 2 of them went home after we ate. They didn't even stay to see what was going to happen.
They heard the rumors and they were ready to go. Huh?
Anyway, we've been through all that mess, so we was glad to see some new faces come around, because when everybody quit, FD and I were talking, said, there ain't no need to quit now, we're not going to play. We're on a full ride. Yeah. On over Monday afternoon.
Wrong answer. Yeah, that's it was Sunday evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mooneyham and them had been playing in the band one Saturday night. The next Saturday night, they started on the offensive line.
I don't think that was.
Unfortunately, they didn't know the play.
And we had one that come out of the band.
Yeah.
Them, and then we had one come out of the dorm, and one of our managers, Keith Harry, he used to be supervisor over in Pontotoc County. He was the manager for us. We just couldn't get Holcomb to play.
Yeah.
He told he wasn't going.
Y'all mainly talking about the 70 season right now.
Yeah, but that led up to why there's only 4 sophomores.
Sure. But the next year when we come in and all these new guys come in and everything, of course you had me and Larry and Bud and Willis, they never had to endure what we went through to get to that point. Of course, Jackie knew it too, because being, like I said, when you went to school at Wamba Agricultural High School, you went to ICC for 5 years, and they never saw that. And I think that's what really helped us then, because just the 4 of us they couldn't tell us and explain. We couldn't explain to them how bad it had been, because it was pretty good. And I think, and that's one thing I give Larry a lot of credit, and, some myself and Bud, is providing some leadership. But, it was excellent leadership throughout that whole team. And we proceeded to participate and understand that, you can win. I think that's what really, of course, and Larry and I, it come from that same, and Willis, from the background of, you're supposed to win. I mean, you play football at Oklahoma, you play at Etowamba, and even Bud, you play at Shannon back that day. You was to win. You wasn't supposed to go up there, and that's what you never could really. We never seen it. I never saw it meshed much the whole time I was a young kid until I got to my sophomore year at Etowamba. When you started
Let's talk about that sophomore year a little bit. All that's a really important background to what y'all faced when you came on campus, freshmen faced when you came on campus. And there's no question that 4 sophomores provided excellent leadership. Willis and Yan on offense, and you and Bud on defense. And that showed by your actions during the game. And during your practices, even more importantly, I think. But let's talk a minute. I think what Adam really likes to document is what the 71 season was like. Larry, you might start it off. You had a really fine.
First order was, we played at Gulf Coast the first game.
Yeah.
And of course, that was all of their first game.
Yeah.
And it's what, 28-21, what they did. But they scored when Stennis took himself out of the game.
He decided not to come in.
Not to come in, and that guy named John McKay, he went on and played at Kentucky. He comes up there and there's a hole in there that wide, and he checks off, runs quarterback sneak 90. And they beat us 28-21. They won the national championship that year with that same team. So Red and I talked about it on the bus ride back. You know, we may be all right after all with all these freshmen on here, because they just, right now, they don't know any better. I mean,
That's right, we didn't.
but that not knowing any better, the night we played in that monsoon down there, that I was up there getting x-rayed, listening to it on the radio, and that's when Coach Miller let us vote. And we was trying to tell all y'all freshmen, no, you don't want to play this bunch.
You want to play in the mud.
You don't want to play this bunch in like this.
Hurricane.
Yeah, it was a hurricane. You couldn't catch the snap of the gun because it was blowing over here. Anyway, they finally said, the guy on the radio, I'll never forget, he said, looks like that a woman's walking off the field. Can they do that? And the other guy said, I don't think Dudley Miller stopped to ask nobody. So, but we came through all of that, and then we kind of started clicking a little bit, and the deal with the Northwest game, crap, I thought we won till the next day, because the last thing I remembered, we were up 18-6 before Big Buddy put my lights out.
Well, he was designated to it.
He was designated to do that.
They designate somebody to take quarterback out. That's all they would.
Well, I'm wondering.
That's all they do is take somebody out.
I just wonder, Coach, you talk a lot about us meshing as a team, which we did, no doubt, through their leadership per se, because you stood here, and I think that was big importance, because you did stick it out and the rest left, and when we all came in. But I just wonder sometimes, Coach, what you and Coach Walls and Coach Miller, what did you coaches think about us as we came in and the ball started rolling and did...
Well, when you came in, I think we all knew it'd be a challenge. You know, you have 4 sophomores, you have all freshmen. At a 4-year college, you have little time to try to teach offenses and defenses and let a team mature. In the community college system, we all played Gulf Coast about 2 weeks after you stepped foot on campus. So you don't have much time for a learning curve. And that's important. And I think that's why it took about 5 games for the offense to really gel. I've coached defense and offense, and I've always thought defense you could put together a little bit quicker because it's more reaction football. And offense, you've got to have a system where you know where everybody's going and where they're going to be. Now, you got to have it on defense, too. You got to have schemes. But I think that's why Coach Miller made the decision to put all of the big boys like you on defense. You and Steve and others he put on defense. And he left the offense with the boys, Jackie and Thomas and people that weren't as large as young. So that's why when he told me he wanted me to coach the offense, that I tried to come up with a system that allowed us to have some leverage, like wider splits in the line where you could do cross blocking and X blocking and things like that, that allows you to have space. And while with Larry's ability and John David's at quarterback, we ran 5 wide sometimes, 4 wide sometimes. Not trying to necessarily read where linebackers are going and what the end's doing. All that's important, and we study that and give credence to that. But we knew most of the time where our space was going to be. And the purpose of that was that if you're running like a wishbone offense in a 4-year college, you've got an opportunity to teach and to teach reads and zones and what this player's doing, what that player's doing. But when you got people that get thrown in the fire 2 weeks after they step on campus, like y'all did, you better be trying to find some way to go around. Coach Miller, for example, on offense the year before had run what he called the tray offense, where you had 3 backs in real tight, the line in real tight. Now, that's fine if you've got people your size, but when you don't have that kind of size, you just button your head against a concrete wall trying to knock them out of the way. So we tried to design an offense that allowed to take advantage of the capabilities of our quarterbacks and to create space out there so that we didn't have to try to push a Perry Gann out of the way. We could try to go around him, or we could block down on him, or get him some way tangled up. And so that's what the thinking was on why the defense had all of the big boys on, like you and Steve and Mem and Ronnie Wilburn and others that were Bill Journey, that was tough as nails. And Bill, when you read this, you'll see he led the team in combined tackles and.
That was before they outlawed the chop block, wasn't it? Chop block.
But the point to answer Perry's question, the offense that was run that he had made it my task to try to design was designed as a carryover from the year before in 1970 that we started trying to do some shotgun look. But nobody else was doing that anywhere around. I've heard you say, Larry, when we play other teams, I don't remember teams running 4 wides against us.
They didn't know how to defend it. That's what gave us a chance.
That's what it was. And then by the mid-season, when we'd been together long enough to have been able to learn the evolution between a shotgun offense and evolving into a rush pass offense, that we started running different sets. And we had the field numbered and the plays numbered in a way that if you call red 42, you could run it out of a wishbone set or out of a pro set or an I formation or shotgun or whatever. And you knew what to do. The line knew what to do. The blockers knew what to do. And so when y'all played Holmes Jr., y'all did a great job on defense, shut them out. But they had a coach that was the first year down there named Tommy Davis. He'd been a really hot shot coach in high school. And wishbone was real popular at that time. So they were running a wishbone. He had won with it in high school, and that's what they were doing. So that week we put in a wishbone look. Looked like we were lining up to run the wishbone. You remember that, Larry. And we had old Tater over at Morville, Roger Smith. He had a great night that night where it caught Holmes Jr. totally off guard. They didn't know how to defend it. They thought we were going to be coming down there throwing 40 or 50 passes. And we were running, looking like we were running a wishbone, but Larry wasn't having to read. And as best I remember, Larry, was we had a preset play that we knew we were going to run. And old Tater would sweep that in, all was blocked down on the offensive line, and we beat them 35-0. The next week, if you look at this film of the East Mississippi game, we ran a bunch of different looks in the backfield, ended up winning 45-6. But by that time, we were running rushing plays and passing plays, and we had the advantage of being able to run them out of different sets. So to answer your question, what did we think about 38 freshmen and 4 sophomores? The strategy was to try to develop a defense early to hold the other side from scoring, running a big score thing. So it puts all the big men there. And then the offense was an evolving thing where at first it was just pass, pass, pass. And then we get into the rhythm of moving with it. And so by the time you get to Northwest, and it's been so easy for all y'all to quit, just said to hell with it after the Northwest game. It's been real easy. But y'all went up there. I remember Coach Miller saying, walk on the field just like you reel down. And I think that carried over, we acted like we were down. But then about halfway through the first quarter, I remember we called offense all together. And I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but we didn't have a Sunday school lesson there on the side. and when y'all went back in, we were ahead 35-14 at the halftime. And then y'all just poured it on them after that. And those kind of things like that showed me the grit and determination that y'all had. So you come back next week and you beat Hines 41-16. We had a play where Jackie playing guard, we reverse him out, you hand him the ball, you run like you're running option there, and you hand the ball to him. Well, we had designed it in a way he was eligible for and he made about 8 yards on it. I got him on sideline after it's over, said, why didn't you do a little juke step on him? You scored a touchdown down here. And he would have. And we ran that play with Jim Bradley against East Mississippi. And if he could have run, he would score a touchdown.
He's from Aberdeen. Hey, that big, who was that big running back, either for Hines or Holmes, that was called him Iron Man?
I don't remember his name.
Robert Felton.
Robert Miller. Yeah, I did.
Robert Felton.
Coach Miller called me an hour over there. He said, I want that out. And I don't care how you do it, get him out. Me and old Richard talked about it. He said, all right, Richard, I'm going to hold him up. You sweep him knees. Well, we worked on it. Finally, we had a chance. Richard had him up. I come in there, but I missed him. I hit Richard's knee. That was it. He really got an operation.
Here, you can be your best. The best train here. Learn here. Succeed here. Perform here. Win here. Thrive here. Itawamba Community College. The best start here.
You're always pushing yourself. There's no time to rest. You keep moving forward. The only thing better than your last accomplishment is your next.
What's next?
What's next?
What's next?
So, Allie, what's next?
I guess we'll see.
Find a bank that's as excited about your future as you are. A bank that asks,
What's next?
Renaissance Bank, understanding you.
Welcome to the pasta party!
1, 2, 3.
Making new traditions.
Now let's go and keep going.
Sharing old stories. Homemade pasta. Enjoy! Cheers to us! We did it! And a nice cold Coke.
Okay, ready? 1, 2.
That's my recipe for magic.
That's home. That's just like the Ravens. That's just like Pahokee, Florida. That's my second home. I got my degree from there, my first degree, college degree. It's part of my heart, it's part of my soul, it's part of my spirit. And, you know, it's everything. Itawamba Community College, baby, it's everything. It shaped me up to being a great man because it was part of the journey of me becoming the young man I am today. And it's home, man. That's it. Like, I can go there and lay my head down without no problems. Itawamba Community College, the best start here.
Let me ask one question. And then I'd really like, because I don't want to do the talking, I'd really like for y'all to tell some of your favorite memories of the ball game. If it's victory wins, if it's defeats, if it's things that happened you thought was poor coaching, tell it. I want y'all to tell it so that the purpose of our meeting today is so that they will put this in the archive. And somebody 30 years from now can look back and see what it was like to play football at Itawamba in 1971. Now, I've told Larry, I remember 1971, if somebody said to me what it was like 50 years ago, that'd been 1919. I thought it was ancient history. But I would like to know what it's like when you had a leather helmet, no face mask. So that's the kind of thing that I think would be interesting for people generations from now to hear about. But the one thing I'd like to know is when I sent in to play against Northeast to take a knee, did they tell you that? probably did.
That's what I heard.
We did tell him.
That's what they told me.
Stick to that story.
We did tell him, you take that knee, and we're all gonna
John David is lining up on you.
John Willis come in. I was trying to think about it, but he said I could beat that guy. Well, he was rubbing his hands. He was rubbing his hands. Said I can beat that guy. I said okay. so we ended up.
Well, I'm glad you did it. Let's do this, because again, now keep in mind what Adam is trying to preserve is the history of what it was like to play football at IJC in 1971. So
the biggest thing that changed from our freshman year, when we were freshmen, the biggest thing was you didn't get your head shaved if you played football. Then the rest of it kind of downhill from that point. But the biggest thing that changed that around campus was that it became a big deal to be on the football team. It became a big deal down at the gas station. That's right. It became a big deal down at the pool hall. People started coming back to the games because they'd never seen that four-wide business going on, and it helped that I had two of my receivers from high school with two of the four receivers, with Kibo and Danny Posey. But our team, with all those freshmen, and I knew some of them, and I'd heard of some of them, but didn't know many of them, but our team liked each other and liked hanging around with each other. Did the same crazy stuff in the dorm together that they don't need to know all about. But we played as a team, and it meant a lot to everybody that they were a part of that team. But the biggest thing I remember between our freshman year and sophomore year is how people started coming back to the games. And they even showed up that night at midnight. Y'all had us out there running the bleachers because we wasn't taking all them 22 vitamins.
Yeah. You did a toilet flushing at midnight.
Exactly. Anyway, but everybody, it wasn't offense versus defense. It wasn't all that stuff. It's just a team, and being a member of that team was turned into being a big deal around town. And of course, Red grew up here, but I obviously hated Fulton when I was in high school. But people knew who you were all of a sudden around town, you know, and it didn't matter what position you played in.
What do you think brought that on?
I think winning a few games helped, but they liked the way we played. The games we didn't win, except for the Northwest game, we were in the games. And like I said, I thought we won the Northwest game. But it's daylight and I couldn't move, you know, but we all kind of hung together on campus. Wasn't this group versus that group, we just all on the team together. And quite honestly, Coach Childs we started getting a little positive reinforcement and publicity that had not been, you know, going on. People that had big games started getting recognized in the paper. Defensive players started getting recognized for their part of the deal too, and people started catching on to it, and they liked the style we played. I mean, after we got rolling, we'd go in no huddle and all that stuff. And like I said, I had my two from high school. We didn't have to do any checks. We just nod, and I knew what they were going to do different on the route. But we could call our plays on the line of scrimmage because of the numbering system that they had developed. And we just became kind of a fun bunch to watch play on both sides of the ball. And I think that had a lot to it.
You know, Coach, with the exception of the Northwest game, we can just erase that one if you'd like to. No, but
with the exception of that, I think as defensive players, we were proud when that things started gelling. We started winning with the offense, started scoring, and as a defense, we felt like, okay, guys, among ourselves, this is what we got to do. We got to stop that ball from crossing that goal line, and they depend on us, and we depend on them. So I think at that point, as you mentioned earlier, that it started gelling, and everybody realized that, and you know, like Larry said, people recognized that. The crowd started expanding. Everybody was getting into it, the game and what we were doing, and it was just something of pride. You know,
I think the Northeast game really illustrated the joint effort of the defense.
Oh yeah,
and the
no
offense.
doubt. I mean, you know,
And by the time you got to the East Mississippi game, I remember when we came on the field, it was a packed stadium, and that was unheard of the year before in an ICC IJC ball game. But it was a packed stadium, and people there anticipating that y'all were going to beat East Mississippi, and you was going to beat them bad, and you did. And it was a joint defense and offense effort. I mean, you hold East Mississippi to 6 points, that's something to be proud of.
yeah, when you got people standing on the sidelines, because I remember they run sweeps, and when we would pursue them across the line and come out to the outside point there to keep them from breaking that corner and hitting them on the sideline there, and there'd be people standing all along the sidelines, you'd be looking up at, you hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
And it just gave you a feeling of, it just energized you.
Yeah.
You know, it just energized you.
That's what I saw it.
Yeah, it just energized you.
One thing you gotta think about when you're talking about, we all came in, it was 38 freshmen. There was no competition between us because most of us had all played against each other at some time. Maybe Shannon, Nelson, Aberdeen, Amory, different times. So there wasn't any real competition. But when we got here, I think we all felt like when we was in high school, we had winning, you know, we had winning seasons, some not. But when you got here, you wanted to win. And we all came together pretty quick. As far as the games, the only game I really remember that sort of off the wall was when we had that scrimmage before the Northwest game. Doc Wall had us out there going one-on-one. I think I told Journey or Wilburn or somebody, and I said, you know, this is bullshit. We here.
Before the ball game, we busting
and we're trying to kill each other. And that's when the Burger 2 came in, I think, and we changed it later on in the game.
Now, we changed it during the game. He never knew we changed. He said, I believe it's starting to work. But he didn't have a clue. We changed the damn whole defense.
It looked like a gap 8 to me. We didn't know.
I ain't know is that what it was?
When you have a scrimmage and a one-on-one before a big game, I thought, this is not right. And I came from some pretty rough, when we was in Tom Beaver Conference, it got pretty rough.
That Northwest game was one that taught me don't stand by Coach Miller anymore.
Yeah.
When he grabbed me and said, get Franks out of there.
Franks?
I said, Coach, Franks is defensive tackle. I know what the... Get him out of there. So here I bounced my 175-pound butt in to play defensive tackle, and then when I go into that huddle there, everybody's looking and said, who are you coming in for? You play offense. I said, Frank, you're out. And they said,
he never forgot that either.
Look, what made Coach Miller look like a genius, though, was the fact that I said, the only thing I probably ever remembered that Doc Wall said, other than saying that he knew I'd do a good job when he put me in there, if I had 20 pounds of rocks in my britches, I'd be big enough to play. But Coach Millis, Coach Wall, I'd heard him tell the defensive lineman, turn your shoulder sideways and shoot the gap. I said, the only chance I got, I know I'm quicker than the big boy across the line, because he was about 80 pounds bigger than I was. And I shot the gap and just luckily got there about the same time as the quarterback and the running back were both reaching for the ball, and there was 3 pair of hands went batting for the ball, and I wound up with it on the ground over there. And Coach Miller says, told you it'd work.
You know, Coach, you probably don't, I know some of the defensive guys, but, you know, in in playing the games of defense, we didn't always play nice.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't expand on what not playing nice was.
So you didn't in practice either.
Well, we had to take care of you and John David because
Yeah, I remember we had a play where I was supposed to go block the defensive end out of the gun. When we first put that gun in,
yeah.
I was supposed to go block the defensive end. And I remember asking, I said, y'all sure that's right? And there he is. And I reckon everything he remembered from Oklahoma and Nettleton games in high school came back to him. Because he lit my up, I'm talking about.
We did have some rough practices.
And, but yeah, there wasn't no red jerseys back in them days except blood.
Are you looking for a place?
That creates lifelong friendships. A place that feels like home.
A place that drives you to new opportunities.
That teaches you skills to improve.
A place that sets the standard.
That challenges you to be better every day.
A place full of opportunity.
We are that place. We are Itawamba Community College, and you belong here.
Guys, you're not going to believe the luck I've had lately. Just the other day, I had a flat tire, thought I was in big trouble. Before I know it, somebody pulled over, fixed the tire.
Oh, that's not luck, Kirk. It's because
That's not the only thing. How about when I'm in a studio, drop the cell phone, bang, shatters completely. Guy hands me a brand new cell phone.
Yeah, Kirk, that's because you have Renaissance Rewards Extra.
Yeah, roadside assistance, cell phone protection, coupon straight to your phone.
And another discount with Renaissance Rewards Extra, Mr. Herbstreit.
Life's just easier when you have Renaissance Rewards Extra. They say Diet Coke is a mom's drink. Well, you copied her jeans, her spin, her shoes, her scrunchie, and whether you realize it or not, her music. Now, copy her drink. Drink what your mama gave you.
Hey, honey, could you help me with this? Today tastes like staying in. And it never tasted this good.
It feels like the deck is stacked against you before you even start your business. What's the difference between someone who fails and someone who succeeds? To succeed, you need an edge. You might invent technology that nobody else can imagine. Maybe you make the perfect product with the perfect fit. But what every successful business has is a bank that is there for them. Instead of saying slow down, a bank that asks, what's next? Renaissance Bank, understanding you.
Trent, you know, coming from high school,
Old Richard, guy on the sidelines, I stand over there and I looked over there, Richard had this guy, head is twisted his damn head, it's twisted. And this old headgear doesn't change, his nose is sticking out the headgear. He still, I wrote him, I said, damn, Richard, if you'll go counterclockwise, his damn head will come off. You know how many old Aldrich was? He started the other way. The refs never broke it up. That's one thing about, it was a big deal for junior college football. You know, high school, you didn't get away with all that stuff, but you come down here, you better have your damn head on a swivel. Or somebody's gonna clean your plow.
And how close you were to the play had no bearing on nothing.
And at Perks, I stand there, old Red FG told me, said, you better go looking. That's how he don't know what the hell he's talking about. And play was over on their side level. The whistle done blown about 2 or 3 seconds. I was standing, this little sawed off about that big, about that one. He knocked me on my, and I was sitting there. Damn! And he said, welcome to junior college football. I said, it's going to be, after that game is different. Coach Miller said, Jeremy, you got to be like a damn owl. Your head's got to run around all the time. Because somebody's going to clean your plow after the whistle's blown. I said, I understand, Coach, and it's different from then on. I said, I'm going to be an outlaw like the rest of these guys.
Let me ask you on a question. After the first 5 games, your record was 1-3-1. You got beat bad by East Central. You got beat bad by Northwest. You had played within 7 points of Gulf Coast in the first game, 28-21, and they went on to win the national championship. You had beaten Jones 31-28 on FG's field goal, 31-28, and you tied Delta 14-14. But your record was 1-3-1. And at the 5th game, which made it to 3 losses, you got beat bad by Northwest. which Northwest had a big team and a mean team and played dirty. Now, we play in Northeast, George.
Angels ourselves. We weren't exactly angels ourselves.
The next week you play in Northeast. Northeast is your arch rival. What was y'all's thinking going into the Northeast ball game? Did you think you could win the game? What were y'all thinking about the game?
Thought we had to win it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think.
What'd you say?
Thought we had to win it.
Yeah.
After the Northwest
game. Cussing like I got from that Northwest game.
Yeah, that practice after Northwest.
No, him in the dressing room after that Northwest game, my mom and my future wife there, and I told them, I said, do not bring mom in that lobby. Don't bring her in. Well, she brought her in there, and Coach Miller got up on that darn chair, and he used cuss words I ain't never heard before. And my mom said, who was down there doing all that cursing? I said, I don't know, it's coming off the road somewhere. She found out it was a coach.
We had to do it. We had to do it. I think we had to do it.
Well, y'all showed, the reason I asked that, y'all showed determination, you showed grit, you showed perseverance, you showed we're not giving up.
No.
And it
The way we had to go was up.
so easy, so easy to have quit and to have given up, and particularly in the first quarter when you were behind.
We were trailing.
When you're trailing. And then by halftime, you're ahead, and it gets going. But when the game started, it would have been awfully easy for a team of people that didn't have the character that y'all have and didn't have the determination y'all have to have just thrown their hands up. Not a single member quit.
Well,
Not a single person quit.
I think a lot of that too, Coach, goes back to the class of organizations that we all came and we meshed together.
Yeah.
From Shannon, Oklahoma, Aberdeen, Amory, Fulton. And I think we had a different mold of a team that had been at IJC at the time, or prior to that. That we had pride in ourselves. We had some values and things that we wanted to do, and it embarrassed the hell out of me. I'll just tell you, we got beat 70-nothing. You know, I was very disappointed. I thought we were better than that, and I think that was our goal. I think, you know, of course, I never was around much on the offensive side, but defensive, we were going to play. Yeah. I think we all, Journey and Ace and Perry and all. And Mike, I think you played defense too and everything. You know, somebody, I know Mim did. And Chuck, did you play offense or defense? Both. But we had instilled in ourselves that we were going to be better than what had been here at Etowah before. And I think that's just my version of what I think happened, and we did, and we come out, and we revenged that 72 to whooping it. Perry says we got to just forget. Well, I've done forgot it a long time ago. We just keep bringing it back up. It can't go away from you. I mean, it's there.
I've often wondered how in the world we got beat that bad.
But I think it's just the values and the things and the pride that we had, and I give our coaches a lot of that credit. It was sort of something different instilled in us than what we had been seeing done. Or of course now I think I had a different view of it because I saw it every Saturday night, and Jackie did. We saw it, but these guys that come in from Oklahoma, all they had done is heard about it. But I think that's what we wanted to do, and we wanted to prove that we was going to be, for some reason, and I think it sticks with me, that we were going to be the team that changed things. Yeah. And not saying that we are, but I think we did. I think we did prove. We come on and played some excellent football over the years. That season, and it provided the foundation, as we've said. But something changed about it, because Larry and I can tell you, the year before it wasn't like that. We just, and that's where I took pride in this team, is didn't load up and go home. It's been just like I say, it was easy for undoubtedly the year before, but we could have, but we just said, no, I don't know if it's Larry and I together, just maybe sort of pushed that and molded it. We want to stay we want to keep our program, our team together, and let's play good, solid football.
And you had nobody quit.
And
Nobody quit.
I almost we wanted to win. And we had come, like FG said, we'd come from winning programs. I wasn't used to that crap my freshman year, getting beat like that. And that made a big difference because I think everybody wanted to win. The games we didn't win was not because we weren't trying, we just wasn't quite there yet.
I think by the end of the year, defensively and offensively, y'all could have beat any team in the junior college conference.
Would love to have another shot at coach
Yeah,
at the end of the year.
except maybe Northwest. Northwest might have been hard to beat, but I believe you could have beaten. There's no doubt in my mind you would have beaten Colin that last game. Y'all had matured by the Northeast game. You had made your minds up. You were going to be a different IJC team than had been before. This history I tried to put together based on what Adam had done the research on. When you look at this, you'll see that it's obvious you were a very different team than anybody that had been before. And when you look at that, you turn things around, and I think it set a mindset that changed up IJC football. And soon, consistent winners started following on it. Now, there were a lot of changes. I mentioned in here changes in rules of recruitment was one, program changes, coaching changes. There were a lot of changes that were made that had an important role. But I have great respect for y'all. And I did then and I do now. And it's because I saw then the character that y'all have in you and that you don't quit, you don't give up. You never become a winner by quitting. If y'all had all walked off after the Northwest game, what would your memories of 71 be?
The same thing that I got at 71 or whatever year it was. 70.
I was a part of a bunch of losers,
right.
Quitters. When y'all got through, when y'all got through in 71, you had. I'm glad to hear you say it because I sense the same thing with the community, not only here in Florida, but when I go into Oklahoma or other towns, that people were proud of y'all. They would talk about y'all. I remember, I wish I could have found the article. I'm going to the Times and get it. I had, and I don't know what I've done with them, but I had several copies of the write-up in the paper about the Northeast game and about the Etowah game, the East Mississippi game. And the sports writer said the whole league's talking about y'all, about what you've done. It's in the article, in the paper. And that's something y'all can be proud of, that you did change up the public conception of what y'all were doing. And when you'd come to a game and you'd see people on the sideline like you're talking about, and it'd be packed full of people. I remember that 45-6 victory over East Mississippi. It was like y'all had beat the Green Bay Packers that night. It was the stands were so full of joy, and happiness, and everybody hooping and hollering. It was just a good time.
Well, they split with changes a little bit, but it still goes back to a lot that Larry had to say too about. If you go back 70. Wasn't much talk about it. But when we got to our 71 season, we started giving recognition to people and it had never been done.
Yeah.
No.
It had a woman that I recall. I mean, like I say,
Did they keep stats out?
You felt beat down.
No, you would just come up here to be a punching pen to see what was going to happen to you and hope you could survive.
Yeah.
And then when I felt like, our sophomore year, I was part of somebody that wanted to be some coaching and everything else, wanted us to be a football team.
You know
wasn't
that
just go out
spring,
there and
remember that
fight.
spring though, that all y'all came up there when y'all was still in high school? And we had that workout and stuff. I think that had a big part in all those freshmen's attitude, because some of them had only knew us four sophomores, had only known us from playing for the opposite team.
That they always wanted to be.
They always wanted to be. And as Mel once told me, he said, I didn't like your ass when I got here. I said, that's noted. I picked right up on that. But that little spring session we had that day provided a lot of insight to them about us four. And Kibo had come in that spring, and that helped. But their perception of what they thought we were like was different. And I tell you how far it carried over. Ms. Jones, we had her in economics or something. The difference between our freshman and sophomore year. She said one day in class, she said, I need to see Larry Gann and Kibo Davis at the class. Right. So we do. She said, it's hard for me to say this, but she said, I want to apologize to you two for some of the posters I made about y'all when y'all were in high school. But I was only following Ben's instructions. But she said, now that I've had y'all in class and I've come to see you play and I've done all this, she said, I just had to tell you I'm sorry. God, she said, but take it as the biggest compliment you could find, because he didn't do that about everybody we played. But he did that about you two, and I was the ringleader on writing it all up. But she said, I just want to tell you I'm sorry. So I thought, but our freshman year, we got folks standing outside the door with a garbage can over their head. I mean, that's kind of deal.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, that because we had a good season and we all learned a lot about each other. But what Adam needs to get from this meeting right here is, ever since we've been out of this place, each and every one of us has been in contact, one way or the other. And just like our reunions we have every third Saturday every year in August. It's always a different group, but it's all still the same bunch. You know what I'm saying? Well, some years we'll have 10, sometimes we'll have 20. That's the important part, because we all keep in touch with each other through, I'll call Journey or Thomas or Mike or FG, Larry, different ones, and we pass the word around. So I think that's the unique part about it. And I bet you there's not another team out there that does that.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why I say this team really embodies that ICC family spirit.
Yeah, I mean,
because you see kids come in and develop the relationship like you guys have, and it's special. And for it to last this long and you guys to be this close really embodies what makes ICC such a special place.
And hey, our get-togethers now is not near as rough as they used to be. They're a lot calmer than they used to be.
By the time
drinking coffee, hot chocolate.
That's really true. I mean, we are family. We really are.
Yeah,
We drank a lot of beer together.
We all owe a big thank you to Mim. I put that in this history about how he's coordinated these reunions. Mim,
He wore the hell out of me.
Well, how it got started, I think all of us have been in contact even since David
Hogg was the instigator.
Hogg was the
I
instigator.
think Hogg was the instigator.
He was the instigator
to
of the whole
got us
thing.
going. But that's what I was wanting. That's the thing. I'm glad you brought it, because I was going to say something about that. That's the thing we meshed, and it's carried on now for 50 years, and we probably missed 5 or 6 years in there. Probably
Not many.
Not many, but
Well, I want to tell you, nobody quit, but I came that close. I went to Coach Childs' office and told him, Coach, I'm not having fun. I came up here to run the football, and y'all telling me I'm going to play in the line. And he said, Jackie, I understand. He said, you were an outstanding running back in high school. He said, well, we got a bunch of outstanding
That's an
runners.
insult going from back there.
He said, but you can block better than any of them back there. And he said, we need people in the offensive line. And you need to decide how can you best help this team win? And I've thought about that many times through the years when I'd get ready to throw up my hands and walk away from a project that wasn't going like I wanted.
Remember old Philip Drake?
I remember Philip Drake well.
just
See, there
started.
was so many of us that they put a bunch of us over in the Coach Monroe's dorm, and Perry and Steve and me and John and Philip Drake and Jimmy Edwards was roommates.
Philip like crack one day. We were.
I told Terry.
Old Coach Smith, yeah. No, Edwards, I caught him. He was lining us up, 20 yards apart and running head on. And he didn't break it up by your weight. If you ended up with, like with him and me, and he was, over two, and I was about 170. He says, Coach, don't we need to line these up? Hell, you going to have somebody out, you going to line them up on the football field like that? What are you going to do? Get you run out your side? Hell no, we ain't going. And we took off, we running head on. Boom, boom. Finally, old Philip jumped up through his head again. I don't see any sense in this. I just don't see no sense in this. You gonna crack? Are you cracking?
You know something, I tell you what, I don't believe that whole year, even from the start to the finish, and all of our practices, maybe some of us did privately or whatever, but Coach, I don't think we, especially after that point that we began to gel together, I don't think any of us ever talked about leaving. We were beginning to get proud of kind of what we were doing.
We were having fun.
And of course, a lot of things I didn't understand when I came from high school. Form was one thing that I always hated to do on the defensive, offensive line, the stances and stuff. I always hated that. So Doc Walls, he wanted to try to teach that. He wanted to try to teach that form. Well, one practice, before we started yelling at it, I said, Coach, I said, I got to ask you a question. And he said, all right, yeah, what is it? I said, well, the way I see it is you got the offensive line come up, the quarterback's there, the ball's there. Okay, you got the goal line down here. Yeah, so what? I said, well, the way I see it, when the ball's snapped and the quarterback keeps it or he gives it to somebody else, our mission or our job is to stop that person from running farther best across that goal line. He said, yeah, that's a pretty good point. I said, well, Coach, then why is it you want me to get down in some kind of awkward stance that I don't like when I can get the job done in a different stance? So he said, well, it just looks good. But believe me, I never captured it. I never captured his form of stance. I never get, even in the senior college, the same thing. Never had a capture of that stance thing.
Well, it's almost 4 o'clock, and I know we could reminisce for a long time.
And feel free, if we go over, we'll be okay.
No, we don't want to hold you up. He had this, let's say, give a special thank you to Adam for what he's done here today. I'm real proud of the fact and appreciative of Adam that y'all were selected to be the first team to have this type of reunion, where you come in and you're being recorded and reminiscing about your playing days. And that's all going to go down in the archives of the sports history of Etowanda, so that people years from now can look back and see what it's like to have played in 1971. Hopefully this is going to lead to a lot of other teams that Adam's going to be bringing in. But y'all have the knowledge of knowing that y'all were selected as the first team to do this. And I think that's a really, really great honor for y'all to be in that position. The recognition this college has given to y'all already. 3 members of this team are in the Hall of Fame. I don't know of another team that has 3 members in the Sports Hall of Fame. And the fact that y'all have stayed so close together over these 52 years, that's just unprecedented. And so I hope we can Keep it up as long as we're all alive and can do that. To keep that camaraderie up like that. And again, Adam, we thank you so much. You're a great host. The food was great. All that Raphael and others are doing here to record this session here today, we're very, very appreciative of that. I said in here, I think, the word perhaps. Perhaps this team did do some things that, in conjunction with other things, like maybe a rule changes or something, but this team did kind of turn the program around and helped to set a foundation that caused some things to happen that made IJC a consistent winner. And where IJC was looked on as just kind of somebody you go beat if you're at the other school, then they became a force to be feared and reckoned with. And y'all can always take pride in that. There were a lot of things that were tough to go through. I remember President Kennedy, since I'm a good bit older than y'all, in a speech one time said, God gives us adversity to strengthen us. And I think that's always stuck with me, that sometimes the things that we go through make us a stronger person when we come out of it. The psalmist said we go through the valley, we don't get stuck in the valley, we go through the valley. Y'all went through some valleys. Had a couple of ball games, they were deep, deep, dark valleys. But y'all maintained your composure, went through that valley, and that adversity you went through strengthened you, and you can always look back and say to kids and grandkids, we came out of there winners. Nobody quit. And when the end of the final horn sounded, we were winners. We had a winning season. And thank y'all for being here today. I know Jackie came all the way from Vicksburg to be here today. Chuck from Red Bay. And,
he just come home every now and then.
And others. I want to thank Adam again, not only for being a good host he's been today, but for compiling the history. If you go to the IJC website, ICC, get on football history, you can go back and look back to 1949 to every game played since 1949. That's where I got the information to compile this data that's in here. And then when you look, take what I've written here, double check me on it. I may have made a mistake somewhere. But I looked at the first 22 seasons before the 1971 season. And when you look at that and look at what happened after that, it's pretty, opens your eyes up to what y'all came into and what it was like after y'all left here. So again, I'll say and mean it very sincerely, I was proud of y'all in 1971, very, very proud of all of y'all. And I'm very, very proud of you in 2023. So y'all keep up being the good folks you are. Thank you.
I got something.
Thanks, everybody.
Before y'all break up, I got something.
I'm not very technology oriented, but I happened to be on there last night on, flicked over and on Facebook it had something about ICC, the mirror.
Yes,
and
yearbooks.
Well, I clicked on that thing, it started showing all them dates. Well, I didn't have a clue, but I did find, and I looked at it last night just to make sure some of y'all, if I forgot your name.
Hey, we do have one thing I'd like to add to our host here. We've talked about the 71 team, what it meant to everybody, but I can assure you, I can guarantee you everybody in here will agree, this wouldn't have turned out like this without Coach Chop. So I thought we need to make that.
Guys, you're not going to believe the luck I've had lately. Just the other day, I had a flat tire, thought I was in big trouble. Before I know it, somebody pulled over, fixed the tire.
Oh, that's not luck, Kirk. It's because
That's not the only thing. How about when I'm in a studio, drop the cell phone, bang, shatters completely. Guy hands me a brand new cell phone.
Yeah, Kirk, that's because you have Renaissance Rewards Extra.
Yeah, roadside assistance, cell phone protection, coupon straight to your phone.
And another discount with Renaissance Rewards Extra, Mr. Herbstreit.
Life's just easier when you have Renaissance Rewards Extra.
Are you looking for a place?
That creates lifelong friendships. A place that feels like home.
A place that drives you to new opportunities.
that teaches you skills to improve.
A place that sets the standard.
That challenges you to be better every day.
A place full of opportunity.
We are that place. We are Itawamba Community College, and you belong here.
Welcome to the pasta party!
1, 2, 3.
Making new traditions.
Now let's go and keep going.
Sharing old stories. Homemade pasta.
Enjoy, cheers to us, we did it!
And a nice cold Coke.
Okay, ready? 1, 2.
That's my recipe for magic.
You're always pushing yourself. There's no time to rest. You keep moving forward. The only thing better than your last accomplishment is your next.
What's next? What's next?
What's next?
So, Allie, what's next?
I guess we'll see.
Find a bank that's as excited about your future as you are. A bank that asks,
What's next?
Renaissance Bank, understanding you.
That's home. That's just like the Ravens. That's just like Pahokee, Florida. That's my second home. I got my degree from there, my first degree, college degree. It's part of my heart, it's part of my soul, it's part of my spirit. And, you know, it's everything. Itawamba Community College, baby, it's everything. It shaped me up to being a great man because it was part of the journey of me becoming the young man I am today. And it's home, man. That's it. Like, I could go there and lay my head down without no problems. Itawamba Community College, the best start here.